Why? Just, oh, it was not really a convincing performance to say the least, but though, I guess, the victory on the opening game of the season is very important. And it's more important as such as, it helps you get momentum. It helps you to build momentum from it, right? And at least it can give the players, as well as the coach, as well as the fans, some sense of optimism that maybe there are bigger things to come and there will be better performances, right? So, yes, Manchester United may have won the game, by a goal to nil. But if you look at the overall performance, it was not convincing and it was not really satisfying. If you're a Manchester United fan at home that watched that game, that followed it, you wouldn't be impressed. I know the result will make you be caught up in this particular scenario to say, yeah, we won the game. I'm sure you'd be very excited because of that. But if you were to look at the performance, right, it was really not a great performance. And give credit, to their 36 million, pound new boy, Joshua Zirkzee, who just became an instant Old Trafford hero as he actually scored, the 87th minute winner against Fulham. So the former Bologna forward, came on with Alejandro Garnacho after an hour as United actually struggled to find a breakthrough against Marco Silva's side. And the pair combined in the nick of time as, the Argentine winger crossed from the right and then Zirkzee calmly steered the ball into the bottom right corner in a hammer blow for Fulham. And, after a slow start during which Andre Onana tipped an early Kenny, Tete effort forward, it was actually United who carried the greater threat, But 3 times they were denied by superb saves from the Fulham goalkeeper Bernard Leno, And twice the United skipper Bruno Fernandes was repelled, and the second bringing yells of frustration from the Portuguese midfielder. And then the third time it was also Mason Mount who only had Leno to beat, and Marcus Rashford crossed from the left, right? And in front of the co-chair, AV Glazer, who was making a rare visit to the stadium, as well as the new chief executive, Omar Barada Fernandez, curled another effort straight at Leno. So it was that particular game which United had to come to the party because now the owners are there, the executives are there, and they are watching the game, from the stands, and which is often rare. You don't often see them, right? And yes, United, they were not to actually be denied though. Eric Ten Hag might have said, his side were not ready for the game, but they still managed to win it, which is pretty much fortunate. The euphoria that actually accompanied, the final whistle was in keeping with the optimism that surrounded United in the build-up to the game. Zirkzee took the acclaim in such a calm manner. It was, reminiscent of another Dutchman, who has returned to those parts of the country where we talk about Ruud van Nistelrooy, who's now a senior figure in Eric Ten Hag's coaching team. The United faithful, they should actually, they've got great reasons to be optimistic, And the home supporters, they sang the ex-United and Netherlands striker's name as he made his way, to the dressing rooms, which was like confirmation of the status he still has at the club. And if Zirkzee gets anywhere close to 150 goals in 5 seasons, Van Nistelrooy managed for United, he would have actually done extremely well. And he has to start now. He has to really be consistent. At least try to find the back of the net about about 20 times, 25 times, or 30 times this season in all competitions. Because like Haaland already has got 91 goals in 100 appearances for Man City. As to how Messi was able just to score 91 goals in a year is something that I keep on asking myself, like, how did that even happen? But look, back to Old Trafford. As it is, just like the 23-year-old's illustrious fellow countryman, he scored on his Premier League debut against Fulham. And any late nerves at Old Trafford should have been eased by Garnacho, but he somehow managed to fire wide after being set up by Rashford. Same thing that happened is like the same pattern that's repeating itself from what we saw last week at Wembley and now what we're seeing at Old Trafford. Now this time it's the latter. Garnacho actually missing a sitter. And when the elation subsides, thanks will also be due to Harry Maguire, who managed to intervene, when the former United midfielder Andreas Pereira looked certain to actually send Alexi Iwobi through on Anana's goal, midway through the second period when the game was still deadlocked. But hey, I guess, euphoria for Man United, but frustration for Fulham. Because it will actually be a frustrating trip back to London for Silva, where you look at this Fulham side, the Cottagers, they started brightly and they came so close to securing a point. And given the home side, had lost 3 of their main Premier League rivals in preseason, still didn't have an orthodox left back, and they started without the central striker. United's preseason, match optimism didn't appear to be based on firmest of foundations, right? Fulham duly exposed United's weaknesses, and for the first quarter of the game, they carried by far the greater threat. Tete, he might have gone closest for the visitors, but their most potent attacking weapon was Adama Traore. You look at the former Middlesbrough and Wolves winger, he can be a frustrating figure. He's one of the fastest, most direct players in the game, and because of that, he is a major danger. But too often, the threat he poses, peters out into very little. And it was actually the same because Traore flew into the box. He got himself into a perfect position to cut the ball to a teammate and allowed to pass. He allowed the pass to be intercepted by, the United debutant, Noser Mazraoui. And he was also off target with a decent chance not so long afterwards. And when he attacked the home goal for a third time, Lisandro Martinez stepped in simply to ease him away from the ball. So basically that meant that Fulham failed to make the most of their best spell. And once Pereira contrived, to blow one chance, and Martinez was actually then allowed to snuff out the danger from what was like initially, a 4-on-2 counter. They were always at risk of a nasty late surprise. So, Fulham, they have got themselves to blame for not getting anything out of this game, even though they did have good moments, to actually defeat Manchester United, but they didn't make most of it. But congratulations to the Red Devils.